welcome to Digital Shift, also known as Corporate Evolution Tales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of digital transformation. From illuminating case studies to captivating narratives, we uncover the stories behind companies' journeys toward digital excellence. Whether you are a seasoned corporate leader or an aspiring innovator, our podcast explores the shifts, challenges of modern business evolution. Hello everyone, this is another episode of Digital Shift, aka Corporate Evolution Tales, and today with me is Adam. Thank you, Adam, so much for being my guest today.
No, very welcome. Very happy to be here.
Amazing. Would you like to present yourself?
Sure. My name is Adam Deere. I am the Director of Creative and Innovation at Green Rubino. Green Rubino is a full-service advertising agency in Seattle, Washington, servicing clients in the financial services, insurance, and the medical field. Doing some really great work, creative campaigns, PR, production, etc.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so first question, and the one that from which we always start these episodes is, what are your thoughts on digital transformation?
That's a good question. I think it's a must, right? I think that's the beginning of it. It's not a nice to have. It's a must. It has to be done. There are degrees to which someone can look at what digital transformation is to scale appropriately to their organization. But we're at a pace of rapid growth out there in the world, and other people adopting these practices and tools. So for any business to stay relevant, they have to do it. That said, many challenges depending on many factors around the industry that you're in, your current tool set, current capabilities, resources, etc. But all of those, I think, are solvable. Just chip away at them, and again, it's an iterative process, and any growth is the right growth.
Agree. And when we are speaking of digital transformation in your field, what kind of challenges are coming to your mind?
The biggest hot topic in advertising is AI. The generative AI and those capabilities, and what that means for us as an agency, how we service our clients, what clients are able to do, staying relevant, staying at pace with other partners, wanting to make things as efficient as possible, but maintaining a high bar of creativity. Lots of challenges around AI. And it's such a big, loaded topic. AI is everything. It is in every tool.
It's everywhere.
Every process, every tool can be AI. And there are, people have personal feelings about it. There's a lot of mystery around it still. But, I believe overall it is a great tool that just allows us to start with a little bit more, right? Instead of, in the creative world, a lot of what we're doing with our clients and stuff, you start from a blank page and come up with a design or whatever. Now we have something that can assist you, and you don't necessarily have to start from a blank space anymore. You can open up more new ways of thinking. You can look at new things that you hadn't before. You can explore more options faster. So that's where I see the potential. Now, there's a lot of challenges in that. There's a ton of tools out there. There's a lot of mystery around AI. Understanding how it works. There's responsibility and ethical questions for it. There's a lot. There's a lot with it.
Yeah. Agree. A lot of my guests are actually mentioning AI, and there are so many different opinions about, is it dangerous to use it? Isn't it too soon to include it in the process? And I'm always asking about the support that it can bring to digital transformation. So what do you think? Are people using it correctly when they are starting, or they are thinking about starting digital transformation? Isn't it too dangerous to use it in such a big change?
That's a good question. I would say, well, yes and no, because I think so. There's two types of AI, really. There's the generative AI, which has gotten all the headlines, but then there's the operational and analytical AI,
Yeah.
stuff that's been embedded in, I think, the larger software tools for a while now that do some automation, uh, constantly upgrading and looking at features and providing you better results. That stuff, the operational stuff, I think that we're in a much better place with. People are accepting of it more. It's the generational AI where there's a lot
Yeah.
more challenges. And with that, I think the biggest challenge I've seen in people using it for digital transformation is thinking of AI like a computer. And it
Right.
is, but they're thinking of it as I input a thing and I get the answer. That's
Yeah.
what computers do, right? It's a calculator. Whereas AI, it's building in probability, so that it can
Right.
give you options and give that semblance of the mind jumping to different places and things. And there's a lot of generative tools, not just in the creative world, as far as visuals and video and chat GPT. There's other things like I was looking at, I think for digital transformation and those tools, I was looking at a tool that does generative synthetic data. So if you have sensitive client data, but you need to use it in other tools, you can't necessarily. So it's generating results based on the information you have. Super cool. That's still a generative tool, which is going to have some probability in it.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a computer. And so users need to understand that, so that even in that sense of, well, it's generating synthetic data, they need to understand that there's a variability in what it's giving you. It's not perfect. You need to look at it, you need to check it, you need to vet it. And so I think that I would say that's the starting point for using it for transformation, is understanding how it works,
Right.
so you know how to work with it.
Yeah. Agree. And you mentioned about using the data, specifically the one that is like confidential one. So it's really important to understand where you are using it and where you are basically dumping the data to bring you some analytics. But agree, definitely it's helping us. And it's more about the knowledge that you should have how to use AI rather than just being afraid of it and saying, yeah, it's dangerous. It's much productive with it. I think our life became much productive with having the AI features all around.
Yeah, I love it. Just being able to like type a few keywords and get a quick response, so I can start to visualize, like from the creative side, I can start to visualize something faster. And I think just, stepping back and looking at learnings from AI to just digital transformation as a whole, I think it's important for people to understand the tools that they're wanting to adopt, and not just understand them, but like, how do they work, right? What is it doing to provide the service, so I can then know, where my interface with it is, or where it might not be quite right. It's not enough just to know how to use the tool. I think you're going to want to know how it works as well.
Yeah, agree. A lot of tools, when we are speaking about digital transformation, there are so many tools that can help. But as you mentioned, it's all about the knowledge that you have about those tools before even using them and implementing in the process. Because with digital transformation, it's so important to bring right technology to support you on that path. And are there any specific processes that are coming to your mind, like on in your field, that you identified as something that should be improved for being more digitalized, for being more automated?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a lot of the lower level tasks, I guess, in our day to day, and we found that for us in digital transformation, that's a great place to start, right? It kind of gets people's minds open to and used to change, right? By just focusing on these little tasks first instead of the big stuff. So we're just looking at ways we can just automate how spreadsheets are populated and notifications and just, note taking through AI, summaries, and then how that's shared out, and proofreading, little things like that, quick wins that build confidence in the team to just the concept of transformation, because transformation can be
Yeah.
challenging for everybody. But starting there, because we know we can get that stuff to work, and build some adoption, and then from
Mm-hmm.
there, grow into the bigger stuff,
Yes.
like bigger
Agree.
capabilities.
Agree. Yeah, it's always like that. I think with people not knowing about digital transformation or wanting to start it, it's better to start from like small steps and going to that big goal just to understand like what you want at the end, but still being able to start with those small steps. It's secure than just taking a big shot there and starting from something that, yeah, can fail. Like, and
Yeah.
a lot of people are afraid generally of digital transformation because of the fail and because of the cost. So, do you think that people can somehow understand like the cost approximately? Okay, this is what it will cost me to digitalize the process that we have.
Yeah, and that's something we've looked at a lot. And I think one of the big things that we're finding, there's the cost of the tool, and
Mm-hmm.
the the hard costs of all of that. Um, I think the way we're looking at it and how we measure if something is worth it value wise is just by looking at hours. That's
Yeah.
really the best measurement for us. Like, are we able
Mm-hmm.
to reduce number of hours, or shorten timelines?
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's even some a little bit beyond that. Like, one of the things we're really focused on is trying to make advertising more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I mean, it's really easy to look at that as, you know, faster timelines and the budget thing that I just mentioned.
Right.
But also efficient on our side to not just present an idea to a client and maybe it wins
Mm-hmm.
or it doesn't and they want to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's efficient if we're able to present that idea and they want to buy it, right?
Yeah.
So these tools, if they increase your capabilities to
Mm-hmm.
sell more often, to deliver those results, I think that's another way to measure it. I think it's a big one when
Right.
we look at it in terms of efficiency. Like, it's much more efficient if we're going to put this
Mm-hmm.
time and effort to pitch a client. It's more efficient to win it than not.
Right.
So that's also a factor to look at. So there's hours and budget, and then the
Mm-hmm.
cost for
Mm-hmm.
the tool itself, but then also, like, what's the value it's bringing? Is it bringing
Yes.
like big, you know,
Agree.
identifiable value?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's, as I mentioned about the goal, it's so important to have it at the beginning so you can actually compare with the value that you got at the end. So you can say, okay, yes, it's exactly what we needed. This is how we improved the process by automating this stuff and all that. Do you have any lessons learned on your path with your experience on digitalizing in the field that you are in? So, what kind of lessons learned you would like to share with us?
I mean, I think adoption is a big one that's often overlooked. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's two ways to approach it with digital transformation. You can either say, this is what we're doing now, we're all doing this, like
Mm-hmm.
it or not, right?
Yeah.
People may begrudgingly then have to take up those
Mm-hmm.
tools. Now, admittedly, that's faster, but what we're finding is what we really want to do is get people to want to do the
Mm-hmm.
transformation, get excited about the tools and the processes and what they bring. And that's a
Yeah.
little bit slower, but when they're bringing that excitement and passion and wanting to then dig in deeper to
Mm-hmm.
the tools that we're bringing, then they're amplifying their output. They're not just working with the new tool, they're taking it and doing even more
Mm-hmm.
with it. And then they're open to more transformation, right? And they're doing it
Mm-hmm.
faster, work is
Right.
better. So I think that adoption part, and it's top of mind for me right now with it, with
Mm-hmm.
digital transformation and learnings, is really finding that way to meet people excited about these things,
Yeah.
right? And not just, this is what we're doing.
And as you spoke about people, do you think it's important to have in a team experienced people for digital transformation, or it's more about like the communication that is going on in the team?
I think I want to say vital that someone in the
Yeah.
organization is dedicated to
Mm-hmm.
lead it. to spearhead it, to make it their focus. And it seems, if you step back and you look at a resourcing chart and hours and stuff, for someone to be spearheading that, it's a lot of experimentation. It's a lot of like going down paths that don't necessarily manifest. It's hard to quantify the value at times of that person. And it's like, we've got real work for clients that's happening. And this person is simply just looking at tools. But, I mean, it's a little more than that, but that, like, having someone dedicated and focused on that and putting the value there is huge, because then that person can be the one that's then vetting all those early steps that are easy ways out for other people. If you only have 10 minutes to look at a new tool, your first glance, it might not seem right. Or your first glance, it's like, oh, this is great, let's do this. And then you learn that it's not right. You need someone that kind of vetted in the process and knows some of the things to look for, some of the questions to ask, who to then connect to internally, who to connect to, from external resources. I think it's really important for agencies, or I shouldn't say agencies, but any business, to really put that role or responsibility on someone and make it a pointed thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ownership is so important when we are speaking about digital transformation, and specifically having people that are assigned tasks, so it's clear who should do what, so we have the productive way of doing the digital transformation. And when we are speaking about communication, what kind of communication we should have, in your opinion, for having a good digital transformation in place? Is it about transparency? Is it about like a lot of meetings?
I mean, communication is vital, because people need to understand what's happening, where you're at in the steps. You don't need to include everybody, because there's a great quote by Henry Ford. I think in truth he didn't actually say it, but it's a great quote anyway. If I asked the people what they wanted, I would have built a faster horse. Right? Meaning, if you're going out there and looking for external opinions from everybody on a thing, you might not get those leaps. So I would say it's a small team to sort of lead the effort, bring in directors or from external teams as needed as things are developing. And I think in those, the transparency and discussion, and be open to things from the point of view. I don't know how many tools and processes and things I've been working on. I feel like I've checked all the boxes, and I've gone through everything, and I share where I'm at and what I'm finding with another director. Like, oh, but did you think about this and this? It's like, no, I didn't.
Right. Good point.
Yeah, and it's like, that stuff is vital, because you don't want to go down a path. I mean, because some of the tools, some of the transformation can be very expensive, can be very time consuming. You don't want to get too far down the road and find that it's a thing that's not actually going to solve a challenge that you think it's going to solve. So, but I think it's just a mix of transparency at the right time with the right people.
Agree. And also, as you mentioned about the cost generally, it's really about the communication that you have and the transparency, plus that you're explaining people why you are doing the digital transformation, what kind of benefits those people will have after we are automating stuff. Because again, when we are speaking about the fear of digital transformation, it's also about people that are included in it that don't understand why we are doing the change. I mean, when person is used to do everything manually, why we should do that like automated, in case like, am I going to be replaced? Is it the case that I'm not doing something right? So it's all about, as you mentioned, about the communication and transparency with those people, so they understand it's only for them, so they can do other stuff better or like faster. So
I mean, I think it's also key early on. So like the way I approach tools and processes, I'll have like a seed of an idea, I'll start digging into it. And then what I found really early on is that at that point, I'll keep investigating. But
Yeah.
what I've learned is it's then good when you think there's a thing that's going to work and solve, and you've done enough,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of testing and research into it.
Mm-hmm.
Go and talk to those people in the organization and find out what their challenges are related to what that tool or process does.
Mm-hmm.
And really then,
Agree.
understand, okay, is this thing going to solve that challenge, or do I need to
Yeah.
pause on this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of great, cool things out there, a lot of cool
Agree.
tools,
Mm-hmm.
and they're easy to get excited about, but making sure that it's actually going to solve a challenge that someone feels is a
Yeah.
challenge is big for that adoption and wanting to then use it.
Mm-hmm. Agree 100%. And a good thing nowadays is that a lot of those tools that you are mentioning, they have free demos, which people frequently forget about. So it's so nice of those products to have this feature or like opportunity to have the free demo so you can understand, is it really what I need? Is it something that will support me? And I spoke about this in my previous episode related to the cost of the subscriptions and all that stuff, how expensive the tools can be. And
Mm-hmm.
usually people even forget that they have those subscriptions and they are just adding tools more and more without even thinking, okay, maybe the tool that I included in already have is having this feature. Why am I adding separate one for that, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so important to have those demos, as you mentioned, like to have understanding, doing the research, doing a little bit of testing before even having that included in the process, because there are so many good tools, great tools, but it's like, do I really need those tools in order to have the digital transformation happening on my side?
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
100%. I love that you mentioned looking at the features in an existing tool.
Mhm.
We've experienced that a lot in the AI world, what we're
Yeah.
seeing in advertising. Like there's all these great big flashy things, but then
Hmm.
some of the best tools are, from a creative, like a visual design side, it's like some of the best tools are just little features added in Photoshop,
Yes,
right? You don't have to go out
exactly.
there to Mid Journey or Dolly or whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's some great little ones,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then you're already paying for it. You already know how to use the tool, and this is just a new feature.
Hmm.
It's easier to get into that way. And so that's a great reminder with these things, because these tools are always coming out with new features, and
Yeah.
they're all going to have AI in them. All the tools are going to have some
100%.
form of AI in
Yes.
them. I love that you also mentioned the demos, and I think
Hmm.
another thing that is worthwhile for people to do is to also just reach out to a salesperson at that place.
Exactly.
I
Yes.
think people are a lot afraid. Then there's a lot of fear that, like, oh, well, then they're gonna want me to buy the thing, and I don't know. Just have
Yeah.
a conversation. Just ask questions. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's a great way to learn about if it's.
Yeah.
And again, that's where transparency is great as well. It's just saying, well, we're sort of considering this tool. Maybe I
Yeah.
just want to have a better understanding of it. Can you explain X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z?
Right. Right.
Much faster than just
Yes.
clicking around on a site.
Yeah, we have this in our company, the objective and the OKR for us to implement AI tools in the process of project management. And I was like booking demos for, I think, around seven, nine tools that were like promising to have a great risk management, great some reporting stuff. And I was like, okay, it sounds good, but is it really like that? Or is it just
Hmm.
something that you just for the promotion, like you added AI at the end of the of the
Right.
feature, so it's
Yeah.
like that. And it was so interesting to see. I think more than 50% of those tools actually didn't even have the thing that they mentioned they have in them, and it was like, okay, it was good that I asked them before even implementing, because before like I think even 2 years ago, I will just be shy to ask, and I will just say, okay, I will implement it. And you are even paying for like the beta version, or like when you are doing just the trial thing. So yeah, I was like, okay, it's good that now I have that experience to say no, or like, okay,
Yeah.
this is nice, but I don't need that actually. And as you mentioned, it's all about the transparency also with the people that are selling the tools for your digitalization, it's like, okay, that's fine, thank you, but it seems it's not fitting to what I
Yeah,
need.
right. I had that exact conversation with a tool, some salespeople for the tool, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
month ago, and I mean, they really appreciated the feedback also, and like why I was like, no, I
Yes.
don't think this is going to be right because actually the AI doesn't do this and
Mm-hmm.
this, and we really need it to do this, and so it's not
Yeah.
doable for us. Instead of dancing around it, whatever, but just saying this is why. And they
Mm-hmm.
responded with, no, great. We love and appreciate the feedback because we're going to
Yeah.
pass that along to our team who are working on
Mm-hmm.
these tools. They know that this is a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, agree. And you mentioned the feedback, and it just reminded me about the feedback that you are getting after changing stuff, and basically after digital transformation is done, though it's never ending thing.
Yeah.
But it's always so good to have the feedback from people that are in that process. So you know, okay, it was the improvement, but maybe we need something more to change, or like, okay, this maybe is working for me, but it's not working for 10 other people that are included in the process.
Mhm.
So you mentioned about improvement, and it came to my mind that it's always about improving even something that was improved already with
Yeah.
the digital transformation.
Yeah. We're doing it right now. We just finished an internal sort of process thing. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it mostly success with it. Now it's like, okay, now let's get together and let's go through
Yeah.
these results and look at them and say why this one worked better than this one versus this one versus this
Yeah.
one. And so, what does that mean for us learnings moving forward so we can do it even
Mm-hmm.
better on all these the next time? Yeah, I think it's just a
Yeah.
constant process. It's just, I think people just get so caught up in the work that has to be done that
Yeah.
something like that
Yeah.
seems like it's more of a nice to have. And so, therefore, you don't need
Mm-hmm.
to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But that just makes things better, faster, cheaper
Right.
down the road by optimizing it. I mean, it's test and optimize. It's,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
adopting the same practices internally.
Mm-hmm. Agree. And I think this will be my last
Oh,
question,
okay.
and it's related to the advice. What advice would you offer to other companies or like the individuals that want to start digital transformation?
I'm trying to think of anything new. I think having that designated person to look into
Mm-hmm.
it. I think advice. Maybe I would say separate the fear from the resources. Right. I think there
Okay.
was a point one of your you were talking earlier mentioned people are fear that something is going to fail.
Yeah.
Right. Let's
Mm-hmm.
define what that looks like. What does
Mm-hmm.
failure actually mean? Right. And we always talk about failure.
Yes.
We have that it fails. It's very binary, 1 or 0. There's still
Mm-hmm.
stuff you can learn from it. There's still just iterative steps. Something might not be perfect. There's a great phrase.
Yeah.
Uh, perfection getting in the way of progress.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
100%.
Uh,
Yes.
just be open to, hey, even 80% better is a win. We were talking to
Yeah.
someone the other day internally around one of these new tools and processes, and they were like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 14, 15% on this
Yeah.
one thing it helped me with. But that
Yeah.
still split things up by like a
Mm-hmm.
couple hours. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you want it to be like 100%, but that's still a win, right?
Agree.
So I
Agree.
think maybe
Yeah.
it's around, I think the advice would be around, yes, there's the budget stuff, but then also think about what success or failure looks like and kind of
Mm-hmm.
gauge what that actually is. And
Yeah.
I think you'll find that what you might have previously deemed as failure isn't failure at all. And so
Mm-hmm.
then you really have no reason to not go forward in it.
Yeah. Agree. Definitely. Amazing. Awesome. Okay. Well, I think this is the end of this episode. Any last words, Adam, from your side before we will end
No, I
our
don't
podcast?
know. Transformers.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being my guest and sharing your experience with the audience. And yeah, have a great day.
All right. Thank you.